We're going to do a short interview with Siridharma. He is the founder of Personal Evolution Agency. He's developing and has been developing a coaching formula for a number of years now, coaching individuals and being successful doing this. And now we have a bit of time to pick his brain and have a conversation with him about the formula, the plus minus zero formula. Today, the particular topic we're going to be focusing on is who you are and how you are. This is a central topic and a crucial part of the formula, and something that I think would be interesting for all of you that have joined us to know more about and to discuss and learn about. So, Siri, maybe you could just introduce yourself shortly.
Yes, so yeah, I'm Siridharma. This is spiritual name. For those who wonder, I was a Kundalini Yoga teacher for most of my career, I think 25 years. And this was a name given by my master that I kind of continued as I kind of gradually evolved into becoming a personal evolution coach. So just for everybody to understand, this is a coaching formula that came out of a puzzle that I put together over the last 25, 30 years of working with people, companies, professionals, always being asked to solve personal issues, professional issues. And then as I digged deeper into my personal process, but also in my understanding of what I was doing, as I started to look more and more behind why something is effective or not effective, or why something is or not is not supporting an evolutionary process in a person or in a company. I would say at the end of this long journey and research and investigation, I came to the conclusion that it was plus minus zero. that these were the three, let's say, essential components that hold the whole fabric of what personal evolution stands for, holds it together. It's like the three ground components, the raw materials that in the end explain why it can work. And so for the people at home, this might sound quite abstract, because plus minus zero is abstract, right? It's not a word even. There are symbols. And that was consciously chosen also because it just appeared, let's just say. But I liked immediately that it was quite abstract, because in the end it is something quite abstract, because we have to understand that behind everything that is tangible and concrete, there's something more, let's say, behind it that is not easily to spot or to see, or maybe the five senses are not able to touch it, feel it, hear it, understand it rationally, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. We all somehow know that there is some kind of mysterious element in all that exists. We somehow know that. Some people maybe call it universal consciousness or truth or spirituality or God or philosophy. But these are all attempts to seek to get clarity on things that are not immediately obvious. And the topic that we chose to talk about, the difference between who you are and how you are, also immediately relates a little bit to that, and is very much at the foundation of understanding how personal evolution can exist or can work or function. But we get there, I think, as we continue to talk.
Yeah, I'll just introduce myself also quickly. So my name is Zoot now. I'm in the coaching track and learning to become a coach as well. I just wanted to touch on the abstract. So we started with the abstract with the formula itself. Something that's very close to people and very tangible is, when you ask somebody how you are, or you ask somebody who you are, this feels quite direct, there's a response to this, an emotional response, or a moment to reflect on how you feel or what's happening in your life. So I'm quite curious about the who you are and how you are, getting to the kind of like practical part in a way, or the tangible part. But my understanding is that the framing of the combination of the two is a little bit different than people might initially expect. So I'm curious if you can give us a first introduction of what how you are and who you are means within this formula.
Yeah. Yeah, it is very interesting, isn't it? If you just think about exactly like you say, it, someone asks you, "How are you?" And you tend to respond, maybe in a polite way by saying, "Oh, I'm good," which might behind it, there might be a whole other truth.
Mhm.
Sometimes we really go into it. We really express our deepest concerns, how we feel, what we're struggling with. Maybe when a friend sincerely asks, "How are you?"
Mhm.
Sometimes we give a more superficial answer as a kind of a polite expression of like, good, thank you very much, how are you? But it opens a field of learning a little bit more about the condition that this person is in that moment or in a certain time frame, let's say the last few weeks. Or if you haven't seen a person for a year, you could say, "How have you been?" or "How are you?" And it's like, "Yeah, this and that, and I went through this, and I went through a lot." So it could be a moment, it could be a snapshot, and it could connect to different time frames. But there's always a time element and some historical component and some storyline that is then being expressed.
Mhm.
If we switch to the other side, and if I ask you, "Who are you?" that, and it also is you can ask it in different ways. So there's also you have different options there in the same way as with how you are, such as who are you? So you have to identify yourself. So maybe you show me your passport, and this is like how you are formally registered, your official name whatsoever. In my case, it's already confusing, right? Am I Siridharma, or my Dutch name, or the name that I have in my passport, which is a Catholic name? So it's already confusing, like three names, right?
Mhm.
Um, then like who are you, like with a more sincere interest, is kind of getting to know you and inviting for some kind of an interaction, maybe spending some time or taking the time to get to know each other, maybe first through your first impression and like a little bit you say about yourself. Maybe you say, "Well, I'm a husband, I have two kids," or "This is my work." Is a is a
Mhm.
little exploration of who you are, what you do in your life, which is quite disconnected from how you feel about the life that you live. If I ask you, "Oh, how is it for you to work as a engineer of 25 years? Like, do you feel where are you in your career, and how do you feel about it? Like, how is it for you?" So you could say there's almost like a little bit more like maybe the story and the history and what you identify with, what makes you you,
Mhm.
and how you feel about that. So that's kind of already an interesting kind of contrast. Something starts to happen there.
Mhm.
I think we all, as we meet each other, I think these are the two paths, the two pathways that we initially enter that I think everybody can relate to, but does not really touch yet, um, let's say, the deeper sense or the deeper meaning in which we use it as part of our coaching formula.
Mhm. Can you explain a bit more how the two fit into the coaching formula? Because we've had a bit of an introduction now in more of a general sense, but
Yeah.
more specifically within the context of the program.
Yes. So so when we start any process with a client, the first differentiation we make is the difference between how you are and who you are, or who you are and how you are. So when we refer to how, we refer to like, let's say, who you've become over the years. So to clarify it more specifically, when we talk about how you are, we talk about your personality, which is a construct that is part of your survival and coping mechanism that you have developed since childbirth. So you're brought into this world. You have your first experiences, and you need to survive. You need to cope, and you start to learn as you go. And that's a constant mechanism of learning, of reactivity, interaction, response, where you kind of get to know yourself in an environment, and you constantly have to come up with strategies to, like a child that cries when it needs to eat or when it needs some attention. And later that develops into a person, into a full-blown person that has a complexity of behavioral patterns, like a neurological setup, you could say, of how you cope and how you even create success or how you maintain relationships. So it becomes quite a complex forming of a personality, which then includes certain talents. There are whatever you went through in your life and how you responded to that and how you dealt with that and how you grew up in that is all part of that construction, you could say, even including some of the unresolved issues that we might have, such as trauma or things we went through in our childhood that formed us in a way that might or might not be very beneficial in our current circumstance, that often mirror where we have really matured and grown, and where we have been able to generate success, but also areas where we are still struggling or where we realize that maybe some deeper issue is still playing out, and life reflecting that back to you. So this becomes this is what you then identify with. This is what most people see as who they are. But then what we do is we say, wait, no, this is not who you are. This is how you are. This is who you became over the many years. This is your story and your history that turned you into the you that you are today. And you could say that if you take a snapshot of all of these periods of time, there are all these different persons, the child you, the adolescent you, the mature you, the successful you, the sad you, the traumatized you. And so that is that complexity of the personality. But when we say to a client, wait a minute, before you identify yourself, let's just say that's how you are. Because maybe later today something will happen and it will change you a little bit, and then you are already somehow different. So it's part of you that is constantly changing and evolving. This is how you are. Yeah, that of course you can, if you're always identified like that, then that is who you become, you could say. But we make a distinction there. We say, no, wait a minute. This is how you are, and that's maybe why you are like that. But who you are is something else. It is the part of you that can witness this. It can also somehow identify with this, but it is the part of you that can somehow take a distance from it and observe it. And you could even say, is this really me? Do I feel that this person, is it really representing me in a good way? So there's it takes us on a little, let's say, a deeper understanding of who we are. So now we're kind of tapping into what happens when someone goes into a more detached state, or you could say meditative state. When we talk about we have to tap into more spiritual terms like being or consciousness. So the way to explain it I think a lot of people have some understanding of soul and spirit and tapping into being or I am. But at the same time, when we talk about it, you also realize that although we have some kind of relationship to it and some kind of idea about it, at the same time, it's still quite confusing because it's less tangible, it's less concrete, it's harder to grasp. And so I think it could be interesting if we could somehow in this
But I think
talk.
that what
Yeah.
would be interesting to, because I'm also looking at where we are in the conversation, we have, how you are, which for a lot of people is who you are. So we've been trying
Yes.
to drive a wedge in there a little bit to
Yeah.
create some clarity.
Yeah.
I think it would be important to look at who you are in less maybe in the abstract, but what this can mean for somebody and how this relationship looks from day to day. So if
Yeah.
you are first identifying with the how part, which normally is actually seen as the who,
Yeah.
and now let's move to the who you are, but move a little bit away from what the broader philosophical and spiritual ideas are about this, and
Yeah.
how into the coaching formula is something actually very practical and tangible and valuable for people to develop
Yeah.
into.
Yeah. It's a bit, you could say it's a bit difficult to stay away from let's say spirituality because it's in a way where spirituality starts. But what we want to do is we want to we want to apply it in a very pragmatic way so that people understand the practicality of it.
Mhm.
And so if just to give another example, if you look at pictures of your childhood and let's say you make one snapshot of yourself every 5 years of your life, you see all these different persons, and but it was also all you. So in that ever changing personality, there's also something that doesn't really change, which it is still you, to still you, to still you, it's still you. So somehow you went through all these changes and became who you are today. But the you who is aware of that, the you who experienced all that, the you who is able to say, "Ah, that's me," that itself doesn't change. So you could say that who you are is the one that is more like a witness, more like an observer. And this is something that we can develop when we take a moment, when we stand still for a moment. We say as a person, we say, okay, let's stop doing, and let's take a little distance from it all, which is what we do when we relax, especially when we meditate, when we kind of go within, we literally close our eyes. So we already, turn off the television screen of life. We take a moment apart from our responsibilities and always being, in the action of keeping up with the roles and responsibilities and everything that the personality feels it needs to do. So you take a little break from it all and kind of start to create a kind of a distance.
Mhm.
Take a deep breath to go within and to kind of relax more into this state of being, which is consciousness itself, which is that capacity to be aware of all that is.
Mhm.
And so what happens when we teach this to people is that they learn to take a break, take some distance, and then basically we say, well, now don't now, oh, that was nice and relaxing and calming. And then they go straight back into the personality, look at the calendar. Okay, what do I need to do? Okay, get the kids from school, and they're back in that personality. But we say, no, go there, stay there, and now let's have a conversation. So let's stay in that, let's take a little bit of distance, and now without going back into it, let's hold it, let's freeze the image, and now let's have a talk about how you are. What do you see? Is this person and the way this person behaves, the way this person acts, the way this person talks, the choices that this person has made in his life, what this person is doing or not doing from the day to day. What can you honestly, now that you're connected and now that you are just pure awareness, just observing and very much connected to yourself, so not identified with the personality, but really connecting to who you are, who you've always been, this witness. And if you are very honest, is this really a well presentation? Is it really a good presentation of what deep down you know? And often when you give people some time and you guide people through this process, they say remarkable things about themselves. Because sooner or later they'll say something like, oh yeah, no, yeah, if I'm really honest, yeah, I should do more sports. Yeah, I know I shouldn't eat this. And this job, yeah, but it gives me safety. And then a different story all of a sudden exposes the personality and the way this person lives. And not just the person, but we can then start to zoom in every area of their life. So we can go health, spirituality, fun and pleasure, relationships, work. We can go into every area of life and have a very honest conversation and a very honest reflection. And of course, that then exposes a deeper layer of truth, you could say. And then you can propose to a client, what if I would help you start to make the changes that you want to see in each area based on what you now know. So then the question is, can we teach people how, can we teach them the navigational, or give them the navigational tools and know-how to then apply this consciousness in a very practical way that leads to a new person, basically, who thinks different, acts different, makes the necessary choices, makes the necessary changes in the different areas in their lives where they honestly would like to see a difference. So now they are applying this honesty, they are applying this awareness, and they have this self-reflective capacity, but then can also translate it into positive actions and then go towards a process of positive change. So that is how we apply this distinction between how you are and who you are, and what can I do with that in a practical sense that makes a real change into the person's life, and eventually into his world. Because when that person goes to these changes, the life and the people around that person will also become a witness of that. And so the person will even it will have a different level of integrity, a different kind of alignment, you could say, one that is more satisfying, because the idea is that if you live in alignment with what deep down you know, the outcome is more satisfying for you. So this is also a formula for happiness and fulfillment, and for finding your sense of purpose, and learning how to navigate that in a very pragmatic and understandable way. So we stay very far away from spiritual or yogic philosophy, but we translate it into something that people can learn to navigate themselves in a level of, you could say, an advanced level of taking responsibility and ownership over what deep down you know already.
I think it's very interesting to touch on how to navigate being in touch with who you are and what the outcomes of that are. I think we can have a separate conversation about this because it's like a kind of a next step in many ways.
Yes.
We are getting close to, I think, finishing this conversation about the topic.
Yeah.
Maybe before we wrap up, maybe it would be interesting. I'm not sure. It's just a suggestion. It's just a thought that popped up. Because we got to the who you are part and that distance to how you are and being an observer. But for a lot of people, this is not a very familiar place to be. Maybe it that's also a topic. Like to what extent do you have this experience?
I think what is really interesting, I mean, like you said, the client processes that we have, they are 3 to 6 months. So this is it sometimes like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, but to learn to apply it, it goes a little bit against how you normally do things.
Mhm.
And so it's a kind of it's almost like learning how to do like a 180. It's like, so it's although the idea is quite simple, and I think most people can understand it, to learn to apply it goes a little bit against the normal way of doing things. And so there can be some resistance and some little, obstacles and parts of your personality that don't like this level of awareness and change. So that becomes part of the focus, and it's where as a coach and as a therapist you help people overcome these obstacles. um, so and in the end it entails much more than just an applied philosophy, you could say.
Yeah.
What is important to know about let's say the way back to yourself, or to kind of start to tap into this, who you are. I think what is an interesting topic is that people who practice any form of spirituality, who are the people who are most familiar with this, they go in and out. It's like they so let's say you meditate half an hour every day, and so you are in your normal state of being, and then you say, okay, let's take a break, and you meditate and you say, that was nice, gave me some relief, it gave me a little break from everything. But then you look at your clock and say, okay, but I have an appointment. So then you go, that clock, that whatever you have next in your calendar, most likely triggers you immediately back into your personality, hoping that some of that deeper connection, some of that awareness that you kind of relaxed into, kind of stays with you as you coordinate your day or your life. So it gives you a bit more awareness, a bit more mindfulness. Um, but one step further is where you realize this, what I relax into is who I am.
Mhm.
And I use that as the baseline for everything that I do. And I evaluate. So now it becomes like a very solid foundation, like an anchor. Like I don't say like, oh no, yeah, that's my soul and spirit, and I need to visit that every once in a while, because that's basically when you say, oh, I am this person, I'm this person, but I'm a spiritual person because I have a relationship with my soul. I said, no, it's the other way around. I am this being who sometimes goes into this, puts on this suit, which is called the personality, that will help me coordinate my life. But I would like this person to coordinate my life in a way that is satisfying to me. So you see there's a kind of a role switching there, where you take back the power and you take the ownership and the responsibility, and then you say to the personality, you discipline the personality in becoming the servant in a way that is satisfying and that has a better outcome. And so you don't only see clients over time get healthier and happier, you see them also become more successful in their relationships and more successful in their work, and in a more satisfying way. So like I said, there's a bit of a twist in this story. that I think is an interesting extra thing to think about
Yeah,
at this
I think
stage.
it's also a good last thought to maybe take away from the conversation.
Yes,
To spend some time maybe to think about. There'll be
yes,
many other conversations about topics that relate to the rest of the coaching formula, and
yeah,
all of this is intertwined as well
yeah.
and relates to each other. So we'll see you again soon. Thank you, Siridharma, for the interesting insights regarding who you are and how you are. And we also thank everybody for joining and taking the time to listen to this conversation. And I hope that you can take something away from this that's valuable for you. And thank you for your time and see you soon again.